In this lesson, we'll talk about multiplying matrices and finding inverses. And let's review how to multiply matrices. So the dimension of this matrix 2 by 1, and this is a 1 by 4. So we can multiply these because these numbers are the same. And we just go this row times that column. We know we're going to have a 2 by 4. So let's go ahead and put that spacing in. If we have 2 by 4, we know we need all these spaces, and then we won't forget what goes in them. So to find row 1, column 1, we multiply row 1 times column 1, 4 times 6. This is row 1, column 2, row 1 times column 2, 4 times 1. Row 1, column 3, row 1 times column 3, 4 times negative 10. And then we get 4 times 9. This is row 2, column 1, row 2, column 1. This is row 2, column 2, row 2, column 2. Row 2, column 3, row 2, column 3. 5 times 9. And so then we can just simplify all that, and that'll be the product of A and B. If we wanted to do B times A, we have 1 by 4 and a 2 by 1. So those are not the same, and we can't multiply. And that shows that matrix multiplication is not commutative. And let's move on to inverses. If they are inverses, when we multiply them, then we will get the identity matrix. So let's do A times B. And that's a 2 by 2, and there's a 2 by 2. So those are the same. We can multiply, and the dimensions of the product will be 2 by 2. To find this is row 1, column 1. So row 1 times column 1, 4 times negative 6, and negative 5 times negative 5. Here we have row 1, column 2, row 1, column 2, 4 times 5, negative 5 times 4. This is row 1, column 1, so we multiply row 1 times column 1, negative 30 plus 30. This is row 2, column 2, row 2, column 2. 25 minus 24, and we'll get 1, 0, 0, 1. That's called the identity matrix. And if we multiply matrices and that's the product, then we say that A and B are inverse matrices. Okay, you try that one. Multiply to see if you get the identity matrix. Pause the video. Since we have the same number there, we can multiply. The dimension of the product will be 2 by 2. We need to find row 1, column 1. Row 1 times column 1, negative 24 plus 24. And already we know that's 0, so it's not the identity matrix, but let's go ahead and practice multiplying. So we're going to go row 1, column 2. Row 1, column 2, negative 32 plus 24. No, that's 32. Negative 32 plus 32. Row 2, column 1. Row 2, column 1, 18 minus 18. And then this is row 2, column 2, row 2, column 2, 24 minus 24. Not inverses. If the product is not the identity matrix, then they're not inverses. Okay, now we have to go into how to find an inverse. This was just testing to see if matrices are inverses. And to find an inverse, one method requires that we use the determinant. So let's see what determinants are. The determinant, if we said this is matrix A, we could say the determinant of A is written like this, here with what looks like absolute value symbol. That's the symbol for the determinant, and we go like this: 3 times 1 minus, it's always going to be minus, 4 times negative 7. So 3 times 1 minus 4 times negative 7. 3 plus 28, 31. Okay, pause the video and try finding the determinant of that. So if it's not labeled as a variable, we can just write it with the determinant symbol. 6 times 8 minus negative 4 times 3. Alright, that's how we find the determinant of a 2 by 2 matrix. Now we have to do a determinant of a larger matrix. So to do this, we have to know about this pattern of signs, and this is called these are called place signs. And if we multiply place signs times minors, we get cofactors. And minors are determinants of 2 by 2 matrices within the 3 by 3 matrix. And here's how it will work if we do finding the determinant. And we can start with, you just choose a row or a column, and it doesn't matter which one you choose. You'll see that choosing one with a 0 in it is a little less work. So let's start by copying that 3, 0, 1. And we're going to have something next to it with a minor. Something next to it multiplied by it times a minor. Something next to it times a minor. Alright, and this will be the place sign. So if we're doing 3, 0, 1, we look at positive, negative, positive. Positive, negative, positive. And then we're going to find the determinant of what's left after we take out this row and this column. Negative 2, 7, 3, 1. Then when we're looking at this element, we take out that row and take out that column, and we copy what's left. 4, 7, 2, 1. Here we have this element, cross out the row, cross out the column, and we copy what's left. 4, negative 2, 2, 3. So the vocabulary here is this whole thing is a cofactor. And this part of the cofactor is a minor. Minor, minor, minor. When you multiply it by the place sign, we get what's called a cofactor. Alright, so now we're doing the determinant. We have 3, and we'll do the determinant here. Negative 2 minus 21. 0. Just for practice, we can write 4 minus 14. 12 minus negative 4. And that's the determinant. Alright, try the same thing with this. Pause the video. And I'm going to use the middle column. You probably use the top row, and I'll just show you that it doesn't matter which row or column you use. So I'm going to use the middle column. 1, 3, 2. 1, 3, 2. We're going to multiply that times the place sign, and then we'll multiply that times the minor. Okay, the place sign. This is going to be positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative. So when we're looking at this middle column, then we use negative, positive, negative, negative, positive, negative. We need the minor for 1. So we cross out the row and the column. Negative 3, 1, 4, 5. We look at this element, cross out the row and the column. 6, negative 2, 4, 5. And we find the 2, cross out the row and the column. 6, negative 2, negative 3, 1. So we get a negative 1, negative 15, minus 4, 3, 30, minus negative 8, and negative 2, 6, minus 6. Alright, negative 19, that will be a positive 19. Positive 38 times 3, 114. And we get 133. That is going to be 0. So that's how we can find determinants. And now let's look at inverses again. So we can use that symbol for the inverse. It's going to be 1 over the determinant. And then we're going to rearrange the elements. We switch the order here. And then we change the signs here. So this is going to be 4 minus 6. So that's negative 1 over 2. And we're going to have a negative 2, positive 1, 3 over 2, negative 1/2. Alright, and that is the inverse of that matrix. We also have a test for to see if there is an inverse, and that's right here. If the determinant is not 0, then a inverse exists. So when there's work involved in finding the inverse, you might just find the determinant first to see if it has an inverse. If the determinant is 0, then we say A is singular. Find the inverse if it exists. Pause the video and try that one. So we're going to do the determinant, 1 over the determinant, and here we switch the places on this diagonal, and we change the signs on that diagonal. Negative 16 minus 7. And here we get negative 23 so we have negative 8 over 23, 7 over 23, 1 over 23, and 2 over 23. And that is the inverse. Okay, and the last thing we have to do is find the inverse of a 3 by 3 matrix, and this works on any larger matrix too. It's just a lot of work. So that's here's how it works. 2, 3, negative 4, 3, 6, negative 5, negative 2, negative 8, 1. And we're going to put that next to the identity matrix. And then we have to do row operations to make this side look like that side. So it's a lot of work. Going back to the previous lesson where we want to make that a 1 and then use it to make these zeros. Then we're going to make that a 1 and use it to make that a 0. We're going to make that a 1 and make these zeros. And then we'll use this to make that a 0. By the time we're done with that, this will be the identity matrix, and what's left will be the inverse over here. So I'm probably going to need some more room, and this is going to get messy. Okay, we can't move any of these to get a 1 there, so why don't we just make that a 1, and that's going to be by, we're going to multiply row 1 by a half. So I'll just go down, and that's going to be 1, 3 over 2, negative 2, 1/2, 0, 0. We didn't change anything else. And then we want to use this 1 to change these into zeros. So we have to go negative 3, row 1 plus row 2. And then we'll go positive 2, row 1 plus row 3. and that will give us 0. So we're not changing the first row, we're changing the second row. Negative 3 times 1 plus 3 is 0. Negative 3 times 3 halves, negative 9 halves, plus 6 is 3 halves. 6 minus 5 is 1. Negative 3 halves plus 0, negative 3 halves. 0 plus 1, 0 plus 0. Two times 1 minus 2. 2 times 3 halves is 3 minus 8. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4 plus 1, negative 3. 2 times a half is 1 plus 0. 0 plus 0. 0 plus 1. Now we need to change that into a 1, so we will go 2/3 row 2. And all we did here, all we did here was we're going to go 2/3 times 0 to get 0, 2/3 times 3 halves to get 1, 2/3 times 1 to get 2/3. This cancels that, we get a 1, we get 2/3 and 0. Also, we chose this because it's the reciprocal of that, just like we chose 1/2 because it's the reciprocal of that. Whatever you want to turn into a 1, we need to use the reciprocal. So now we want to use the 1 to cancel the negative 5. That means we're going to do 5 times row 2 plus row 3. So I haven't changed row 1. I'm not going to change row 2. I'm going to change row 3. We're going to go 5 times 0 plus 0, 5 times 1 plus negative 5, 5 times 2/3 plus negative 3, and we're going to get 1/3. 5 times negative 1, negative 5 plus 1, negative 4. 5 times 2/3, 10/3 plus 0. 5 times 0 plus 1. And then we want that to be a 1, so we're going to multiply by the reciprocal, 3 row 3. Okay, make sure that's correct. Alright, then we want to use this number to make these zeros, and then we'll use this to make that a 0. So we have to do negative 2/3 row 3 plus row 2. That will make that a 0. And then we'll do positive 2 row 3 plus row 1. 2 times 1 plus negative 2 will make a 0 right there. And we have So let's start with the bottom row. And we're going to go negative 2/3 times row 3 plus row 2. Negative 2/3 times 0 plus 0. Negative 2/3 times 0 plus 1. Negative 2/3 times 1 plus 2/3 is 0. And negative 2/3 times negative 2/3 times negative 12. That's going to give us positive 8 plus negative 1 is 7. Negative 2/3 times 10 plus 2/3 is negative 6. Negative 2/3 times 3 is negative 2 plus 0 is negative 2. Now we go 2 times all of this plus all of that. So 2 times 0 plus 1, 1. 2 times 0 plus 3/2. 2 times 1 plus negative 2. 2 times negative 12 is 24 minus a half, and I'll just say negative 47 over 2. 20 plus 0 and 6 plus 0. The last step is to use this to make that a 0. So we have to multiply 3/2 row 2 plus row 1. And negative 3/2 times 0 plus 1. Negative 3/2 times, negative 3/2 times 0 plus 1 is 1. Negative 3/2 times 1, negative 3/2 plus 3/2. Negative 3/2 times 0 plus 0. And then we have negative 3/2 times 7 plus negative 47/2 is negative 34. Negative 3/2 times negative 6 plus 20, we get 29. Negative 3/2 times negative 2 plus 6 is 9. So we know that this is the inverse matrix. And we'll stop there.